Oh, whoops, sorry. Good morning. I nearly fell out of the car there. It's far too nice to be stuck indoors today, so I thought we'd get out and about, bring our takeout with us, and well, I'm quite excited because there is another car that's been announced that fits into that small vehicle category that we've all been wanting. We've been wanting lots of, that I thought I wanted to share some info with you about. So, grab yourself a coffee, make yourself comfortable, and let's talk about the new Renault Zoe. In typical British style, I've put some shorts on, come out in some blazing sunshine, and of course now it's clouded over and it looks like it's going to rain. So let's get through this before I get too wet. So the new Renault Zoe, it's got to be one of the worst kept secrets in the industry, hasn't it? We've known information about it for some time now, but we finally got some confirmed facts and figures about what it's going to look like and the specification within it. So what I want to do is run through some of those just to put you in the picture in case you're not. And then we'll have a little chat about where that sits it and what that means for the future. So to start off with, the Zoe itself, the outside of it. Let's have a look around the outside. Well, I'm a little disappointed in it. I was expecting to find something really new and exciting and different to anything else we've seen. But it looks very much like the old Zoe. There really isn't an awful lot of difference in there. Yes, it looks nice, and thank goodness that the original Zoe was quite a futuristic looking car. It's got that kind of timeless appeal to it. So because of that, the slight touches and changes that they've made just to modernise it slightly, I think have worked really well. I would like to have seen obviously a whole new redesign. I think it's great when things evolve, but I suppose it's the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they have just fettled it enough to bring it bang up to date. What we see now is some LEDs in all the lights. We see some flashes of chrome in the grille. We see just a redesigned, reworked nose to it. It just, well, what do you think? I think it looks quite nice. I think they've kept the essence of the Zoe and they've just brought it bang up to date. Some statistics for you then. So this is the third generation of Zoe. It comes with a 52 kilowatt hour battery, so that's quite a big step up from the current 41. It comes with two options on the motor. The first is the 80 or the R110. That means it's got 110 brake horsepower. And the second is the R135, which has 135 brake horsepower coming from a 100 kilowatt motor. So you can see some real options there, and obviously we're going to have some different price points to suit, so hopefully a lot more choice when it comes to buying one. What's interesting is they've managed to keep the same footprint, the same size of the battery as the 41. They've just made it more dense. The WLTP range that they're giving it is 242 miles. So that's a pretty accurate gauge, but I think we've got to be happy that this car will do over 200 miles on a charge, which is the standard now. I think if you're doing any less than that, then I think you've got to be concerned. And I think that battery choice is perfect. I think if you go any bigger for a small car, it's wasted. You're spending money on something you don't need. Keep it around about 50 kilowatts, around about 200 miles of range, and I think you've hit the nail on the head. That's what most people want day to day. Top speed is 87 miles an hour, so you're not going to break any records with that. And likewise, 0 to 60, they've said is under 10 seconds, so we've got to assume it's 9 point something. So again, not ridiculously fast, but what do you want in a city car? This looks to me like a really good package. They've just continued with that awesome car that sells really, really well. So before we move to the inside, we've talked about the outside, but what about charging? And that is the all-important thing when it comes to this. Of course, they've had their own charging system for years, and it works on AC. It's okay, but not particularly well supported around the networks. What we've got now is DC fast charging. It's working on CCS, and it will charge at 50 kilowatts. So similar to my Leaf. Again, not groundbreaking. It's not going to take advantage of these 100, 150 kilowatt chargers. But what it is perfectly adequate for what you want. You're going to put, I don't know, in 30 minutes, you're going to put 90 miles probably back into the battery. that's pretty good. And then you're just charging it overnight. It's not too big to charge overnight. But the nice thing about this is it continues to charge really quickly on AC. So if you've got access to a 22 kilowatt charger on AC, it will charge at that rate, which is something that we don't really see in many of the other cars, if any. I can't think of any. If you know of any, let me know. But that's a really nice additional feature, because sometimes certainly the chargers that I've been to, not always do the CCS work, but sometimes they've got an AC charger type 2 attached to it. It can charge at those additional speeds, so that's great news. So let's get inside the car, and whilst I'm not overwhelmed with the outside, actually the inside is completely different and it looks really, really nice. I'm really impressed with the inside. It's got lots of new things like new gear levers, you've got an auto park brake rather than a manual one, you've got induction charging for your phone, and the nicest bit that I really like on this is the 10-inch display on it. Taken out of the Clio, it's just nice and big and clear, and the information you get on that is really, really good. What you do get on there, which really answers one of my real bugbears with in-car sat-navs, is you get a TomTom mapping system. And that TomTom mapping system updates itself over the air all the time, so you're always bang up to date. You've got traffic information, it will change your route when you need to. That's a really nice system and it works really well. So pair that with the big screen and the cameras that are going to be around it and all the connectivity with your phone and multimedia, and you've got yourself a great entertainment system in that car. Renault have also decided they're going to step away from the regen being in the brake. So at the moment, as you just touch the foot brake, it starts to regenerate some power back into the battery. So it doesn't actually apply the brakes, it just sets the regen system working. They've now gone for a B mode, again, much like the Nissan Leaf. You can move it into the B mode so that as you lift off the accelerator, it starts slowing the car down. It's not going to stop the car, but it slows it down enough. And as it's slowing down, that's regenerating energy back into the battery. I think, as somebody who uses regen, I think that's a welcome addition. I think people, certainly Zoe drivers, once they get used to that, I think they'll be happy that that's come. It gives you that little bit more energy. It's not going to charge your battery, of course it's not, but it gives you that little bit extra. And to finish it all off, they've given us a number of driving aids. The ones that I find interesting, they've put lane assist in there, they've put emergency auto braking, and they've also put a hands-free parking. I'm guessing that's going to be option, but hands-free parking so that it can park in a parking space or parallel park for you, I guess. Not something that I particularly like. I've tried using them, they just take more time, I think, but some people love them, so I'm sure they'll be welcome additions for some people. But certainly the lane assist and auto braking, very much like ProPilot, I guess, in that it will take some of that stress out of dual carriageway and motorway driving for you. So that's your package, and I think it's a really nice package. I think it's some great updates. When we talk about the Zoe, historically, we've always said it's a great car, it's a great price, but the build quality isn't brilliant. And that has very much been the case. And I think even the die-hard fans of Renault Zoes, if they're honest with themselves, would say that perhaps the materials and the build quality haven't been quite up to scratch. Well, looking at this new one, and Renault in all their press releases seem really keen to highlight the fact that they've up their game as far as that's concerned. They've got better materials in there, lots of recycled stuff, which is really nice to see. And the craftsmanship, it looks quite tactile. It looks like a really nice cabin to be in. Again, until I sit in it, I'm not able to say that for sure, but I'm really looking forward to seeing that, and I'm hoping that they've addressed that, because that was, for me, the biggest downfall with it. A great car, but I always question marks over how long it might last. And of course, that brings us on to price. And whilst they haven't really announced a proper price yet, what they're saying is they're going to price it very similar to the current Zoe. So we can expect a little bit of a price increase, but where does that leave it in the market? Because of course we've got the Peugeot E208, we've got the Vauxhall Corsa E. These are two brands and two car shapes that Renault compete with all the time in the ICE market, so they're very used to that competition. It looks like they're probably going to undercut them slightly. Now, of course, it depends on what you put into that car, all the optional extras, but it looks like it's going to be slightly cheaper, which means it's going to sell really, really well. And if the new car sells really, really well, and we know with Renault that they will produce enough cars and they will produce enough batteries to meet demand, that's going to start getting lots of cars on the market. And if these two other brands do the same, well, then that's going to flood the market with these brilliant new small cars, which hopefully will mean that the second-hand cars will start to reduce in value. We've been saying it for ages, and I'm sure it's going to happen. It has to happen at some point. Hopefully this will really help. Now, And with that in mind, I'm hoping in the next video or two, I'll be able to go back and have a look at one of the old Zoes, and we can start assessing whether that would be a good used buy or not. So that's all the information I know at the moment, and obviously once we get hold of one to have a proper test of, I'll be doing that as soon as I possibly can and let you know what I think. But what do you think? Does this look like enough of an update to you that it's a car that you would consider buying? Are you a Renault Zoe owner at the moment? Do you think if you've got a 40 kilowatt hour Zoe, this is enough of a jump forward for you to buy? Or would this draw you away from some of those other cars we've heard about, the Corsa E or the E208? What do you think? Tell me what your views and opinions are on it, and let's have a discussion in the comments afterwards. But that's it for now. If you have enjoyed today's video, remember to like and share, and if you're not doing so already, subscribe to the channel. And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter. It's easy for me to say. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at EVOpinion. And if you want to support the channel, have a look at the Patreon link at the end. I think it's just about to start raining, so I'm going to get in the car and head home. But until next time, you take care. All the best.